Hi, and welcome to Yeshiva Shabbat Hedva. I'm Rabbi David Katz, and this is the Wednesday night edition. Ger number 14, and it should be noted, on the post, 14 and 13 are parts 1 and 2 of the same class. So Ger 13, part 1, and Ger 14 is actually part 2 to number 13. If you remember the topic at hand, it was the Ger and Shabbat from the perspective of the Rambam. Before I get involved in the class, let's just go ahead and give the basic announcement. Questions, comments, or feedback, I can be reached at Rabbi Katz at virtualyeshiva.com. And the basic premise of the class is to understand the worldwide web of the Ger, whether it be Shabbat, verses in the Torah, Tanakh, philosophy, names, you name it, we're discussing it. This is I guess in Hebrew, you would call it Lich'vod. If you ever hear of, I'm sure everyone's maybe heard of Rabbi Nachman's Likutei Moran. So what it means is, Moran is Moreno v'Rabbeinu Rabbi Nachman, and Likutei means the gatherings, the gleamings of. So the Ger series, really in Hebrew, is a Lich'vod, where we're taking every topic in the world that comes under the category of Ger, whether it's Bo Tshuva, whether it's the forefathers, the Noahide, the Jew who's a Ger, whatever is a Ger, and there's a lot of them, it comes inside. And actually, I want to, before we get into the real meat of the class, because I don't even know how long it's going to go. We may be done earlier because it's the continuation of last time, and it could be it's over very quick. We just didn't get it in, and it would have been a very, very long class last time. So I want to go ahead and just introduce the topic to you. Very interesting. It occurred to me. We've touched on this. We've touched on what I'm about to say. Maybe you've already thought of it, but now we're ready to really hit the nail on the head and bring this home and say it, and now we know what it means. Think about this. What is the Torah? Right? You can type your questions or your answers on the chat if you don't mind. Just say it out loud. Think about it on the most essential level. I mean, really the most essential level. What is the Torah? We mentioned in the Parsha class that the cover of the Torah would be the making of the red heifer, right? That if you keep the Torah properly, then it's the proper balance of, let's say, the Jew and the Ger loving each other, working together. That's how you would produce through Mazal and creation, through Bereshis, the red heifer would come into existence by the sanctification of God. But that's the cover of the Torah. What is the Torah? Can anybody suggest something? Just for context. Joe, what is the Torah? If you have to narrow it down, one thing, like the movie trailer, one man, one mission, one desire. Emet, truth. All right, so it's true. It is truth. But and that's one angle. Look at this angle. This is Chaim and I worked on this before class. There's an angle nobody looks at. Now, we've mentioned before that the Torah is written in the language of the Ger. Everybody remember that? The Torah is written in the language of the Ger. It was the characters were the Gerim. The language was the Gerim. We mentioned a lot of things along those lines. But think about this. The Torah is the Ger Tzedek. Now, look at the potency of that statement. The Torah is the Ger Tzedek. Just as we said the red heifer, the paraduma was the cover, the title going into the book, well then what is the book about? The book is about the Ger Tzedek. Before Sinai, you had the Ger Tzedek running the universe. The forefathers program, the Shem program, the Noah program. Okay, so now you have non-Jew in the absolute sense. And they were certainly righteous and painted and depicted as righteous. Then you have, let's say, the creation of the budding Jewish nation. And that's what we would call the Ger Tzedek of today. He's taking on commandments. He's learning. Maybe not conversion. It's kind of irrelevant. Then you have standing at Sinai, the nation of Israel. They are Gerim. They are Vadai, absolutely Gerim. And they're standing before conversion, but yet maybe they'll convert, maybe they won't. Some people actually left. We call him Jethro. Then you have going through Sinai. That's the conversion. Then you have post-Sinai. And that's the Ger Tzedek who's called the convert. Moses dies, book ends. We never got to Israel. Moses died too soon. Why does Moses die? If you get Moses into Israel and he doesn't die, the book is no longer the Ger Tzedek, it's the Jewish whatever. It becomes the Jewish story. So on one hand, you can say Moses shouldn't have died. Okay? It's better if he wouldn't have died. But what would have been the fate of the Ger? All right, the Jews are going to enter the land. The Jews are going to build the temple. The Jews are going to do this. The Jews are going to do that. But mind you, is Rachav going to be a Ger Tzedek by then, Joshua's wife? Because from the spies in this whole episode, you have Moses' death. His death is actually rooted in the very means that create the Ger Tzedek before he dies, in the spy mission with Joshua and Caleb. So Moses lives, he's perfect. The Jews never know Tisha B'Av. They're perfect. It's a perfect story. There was a movie about this back in the 90s, Pleasantville. Everybody makes holes in one in this universe. We all make the basket. We never get sick. It's a perfect world. The Ramchal calls that the world of Tov. It's a good world. But you ask yourself from good, maybe there's something not good. That's idolatrous. God is only good. So God makes the world very good, where evil reverts into something good. What is the world if Moses goes to Israel? The fact is we don't know, and we're never going to know, and basically you were never supposed to know. Moses is going to die right in the last words of the Torah. Now, it's possible he could have lived. He could have found Mashiach today, as the Talmud says, where Mashiach is. He is today, if you would just hear his voice. Moses didn't hear the voice. He could have. But that's a perfect scenario. And then you have to assume the Ger Tzedek just would be, by the powers that be. With Moses' death seals the fate. The Torah is finite, meaning it has a cover and a cover. It doesn't just go on and on and on. Then they went to Israel. Then they built the temple. It's not an infinite book. The infinite light in the book is contained within two covers. That's called Simsum, which contains the greatest revelation of light. And if the cover is the red heifer, the book itself, the pages, contain a remnant of what the book is. Righteousness, righteousness you should chase after. Tzedek, tzedek tirdof. Yet the Ger is naked. He's naked and boring and empty. Because there's no tzedek. It just says Ger. Yeah, the Ger on your gate and the Ger this. And then Shem has disappeared. Where did Shem go? All of a sudden we are introduced to Malki Tzedek. What is with this Tzedek? That's what everyone loves. They say, wow, that was interesting. Malki Tzedek. And then you ruin it. And they say, it's just Shem. It's Shem masquerading. And then it loses its esteem. And the ger then is devoid of his tzedek. But what happens when you realize that the connotation of God's word is that it's an unfinished sentence? We think the ger is the conclusion of the word of God. He starts with a gimel and a resh, and that's it. It's a ger. Stranger, alien, sojourner, proselyte. Let's just call him a convert and outright pervert the Torah. That's not what God's doing. He's saying ger as the thrust of the spirit that comes from God, and the conclusion God never says. It's like he's gasping for air. The ger. Why doesn't God finish his sentence? Because you cannot contain infinity in a word. That's how potent the ger tzedek is. God can only say ger. Ger is generic. It contains everything. So to say tzedek would make it a prat v'chlal. In Talmudic language, the specific law into a general law. Or you can say it backwards. You can say it's the general into the specific, and that's even worse. You're saying it's not even a ger, it's just tzedek. So God ends it. He says the klal. Klal means the big general concept, ger. In your job, meaning Adam, man, is supposed to say, God, which ger? God, which ger? And everyone says, what a stupid question. It's obviously a convert. Did you not listen to your rabbi? It's obviously the alien in your gate. You know, we all have aliens in our gates. I don't know about you, I have one. The fact is that we know now how wrong that thinking is. There's not an alien in your gate, and there's not a sojourner amongst you, and all these little fancy laws and words we use in the English that doesn't make sense. It's like a Star Trek episode where Picard is told, just go out there and explore. Ger. Just call it there. I don't know what it means. It's not supposed to mean anything. It's a vessel to contain light. As if to say, which ger God? You could say, is it the ger tzedek, the ger shar, the ger this, the ger that? Until everything that comes into existence is a ger. A sojourner in this world. God put you here. Where you come from, that's your job to find out. And only you know. The rock on the ground that Moses was to talk to. Don't just say, stupid rock. Find out where that rock came from. God put it there himself. Look how great it is. You know how when no offense to the elderly generations, but you know when there's like the bitter folk of getting on, they, you know, the cliche in the movies, not to mock somebody, but in the cliche, you know, if somebody comes over and they kick your door, stupid door. You know this idea, right? Oh, stupid door won't open. They break your door. And you say, hey, that's my door. I don't know about you. I like my door. Moses hits the rock. He's saying, stupid rock. That's a rock. That is a creation of God. All through the book of Exodus, Moses can't talk to anybody. Moses, go talk to Pharaoh. And if you look in the grammar of the Hebrew, he never talks to Pharaoh. He comes before Pharaoh. He comes to Pharaoh, but not talks to Pharaoh. He can't talk to someone. God himself says, I've known you by name. Meaning, I know where you come from. How does Moses talk to Pharaoh? Get to know him. Now, why would you want to get to know Pharaoh? Because you'll own him. Moses is a master of the Torah. He's the master ger. Pharaoh's like the anti-ger. He says he's God, which is the exact opposite of a ger. So when he goes in his God mode, I created this and that, Moses owns him if he talks to him. The repair is in talking to him. Talk to the rock. Then God can write in the book, and then Moses, my servant, talked to the rock, and it gave water. The chesed he gave to the rock, yada, yada, yada. And Moses entered the land of Israel, and Moses built the temple, and Moses would then say, and the Ger Tzedek amongst us. The Ger Tzedek I am. It didn't happen. Because he didn't talk to the rock. He didn't find the source of the rock. The source of the rock will yield water. It's called kindness. It's called Torah, which is compared to water. That's why Moses had to die. The Ger Tzedek was basically threatened from existence. That's how the Ger is generic. It's a way of introduction. Hey, person that I don't know. Let's get to know person I don't know. Give and take, back and forth, da-da-da-da-da. Next thing you know, these guys are friends. They love each other. The Torah of love comes down. It must start with something generic. And your job is to put the final analysis to it. Ger. Which Ger? No, that's Ger Bob. Bob is great. Bob is my friend. Oh, it's Ger Bob. There's Ger Bob. There's Ger Rock. Everything's a Ger. God in our world is a Ger. The fact that God creates and interacts with man says Ger. Then it's our job to define what is the revelation of this Ger. Oh, that's the Bob program. Oh, that's the God in creation program. Everything has it. It's the hidden realm and the revealed realm. The essence of Kabbalah. Yesod and Malchus. So when we say Ger, yes, it's missing the punch. And that's why there's reason to love him. Because he's clearly missing something. And it's not because he's a one-dimensional being. Are you trying to tell me that a Ger is less than a rock? That's what people are trying to convince of. Well, since he's missing something, he must be an inanimate object. Two-dimensional. In physics, we call that a flatlander. The Ger is basically a flatlander. And the irony is, you're right. The Ger is the secret society of God. You don't see him. He's one dimension less. Because he basically is graced by God with light. The curse is actually the blessing. So it's our job to find out what is this Ger. Find them. And make it realized in Malchus, the revelation from something that was hidden is now fully revealed as light. And then we don't get stuck in dogmatic definitions of halacha. Oh, it's the Ger this, it's the Ger that. Well, I'm not holding a Ger Tzedek yet. That's irrelevant. That was a starting block. It's about being created in the image of God, walking this earth together and building God's temple on the universal scale in the method called thinking big, because God is really big. The Ger is guarded by God, and the Ger knows God is beyond. And we take that as a euphemism. Yeah, God's beyond. The Ger happens to mean it. When the Ger says God is beyond, that's literal. The message to the Ger, to the world, and to the Jew is, did you know that God is beyond? Therefore, it's your job, our job, everyone's job to find the Ger and give definition or dimension to something beyond, which you won't do by definition. But you can start. You can start the revelation. You can have something. You can have what's called yesh mi'ayin, something from nothing. That's the Ger Tzedek. That's the righteousness of the Ger. That's when God says ger, he means tzedek. And the entire Torah is about the ger tzedek. Show me anywhere from the Beit of Bereshit to the Lamed of Israel, and between those beginning and end words, anything that defies ger tzedek. The people, the times, and the missions, which the Vilna Gaon calls that the seeds of redemption, of the revealed redemption. That very template. That is the definition of the Torah, and it is clearly defined as the ger tzedek, without exception. Without exception. That tells you that the entire Torah, on an essential scale, is of the ger tzedek. So when you put the cover and the book together, what do you erupt with? The cover says, How to Make the Red Heifer, the Story of the ger tzedek. Last time I checked, why are you impure for making a red heifer? Because the ger tzedek goes up into holiness, thereby rendering impure. Something that rises in holiness becomes impure. It's a Torah law. It's actually a reality based on the world of Atzilut above. And when you go through this ascension, and whether you go through a descent, going back into where you come from, or the inverse, the Jew going into the traditional ger waters, you're going to be attacked. Right? You do your 7 and you go to heaven, and don't you do any more. We're coming after you. You don't budge. And the Jew, don't you go over there, because we'll come after you too. We don't allow loving the ger and mitzvah l'chiyuso. We don't like that. We don't want it. It's not fun. When you do, that's where the game begins. That's where the game of life really begins. Because what dwells between the domain of the Jew, the Jewish ger, and the domain of the ger tzedek proper, are the airwaves and static of negativity called Amalek, the nation that seeks to destroy. As long as the Jew stays in his backyard as Jewish and Judaism, and the ger stays, let's call it on the surface, idolater, don't you budge, Amalek has free reign of the highway. Divide and conquer, tell lies and have deception, don't cross camps, both camps will get destroyed. If you remain only Jewish, well, you say, well, then why didn't Moses do it? Oh, well, Moses should have done it. Really? So the Torah was wrong when it reports that Moses died. You're saying, really, he should have lived. Then why didn't it report Moses died, and by the way, he should have lived? Last time I checked, it didn't say that. And vice versa. The nature of the game is when you go to the other camp. 0-1. When either side goes to the other camp, you will experience protest. You will experience every negative thing in the world. Our job is to fight it and combat it. That is the defeat of Amalek. That is the victory of Mashiach. That is the love the ger, the tzedakah from the ger. It is the essence of redemption. Let's go ahead and think about what we called that before, the tachlis geula, the essence of redemption. The essence of redemption, and I found this written, that it comes in the merit of ger women. The first redemption was from Jewish women. The final redemption is the ger woman. Righteous women have always in Torah been the secrets of redemption. Maybe you remember Sarah and Leah and Rachel and Rebecca. 4 women, the 4 vavs of the shin. The goal of the Torah is to unite. The goal is when there is a unison reality. You have Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David in absolute union. Then you cause the level which is called HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shechina, God's providence with God's revelation in union. Man and women unite. Heaven and earth unites. Everything is in union. That is the goal of creation, to make that happen. That's called the third temple in its spot when there's no more challenge in that department. So that's called Tachlis Gula. But there's something else. There's something else. There's the Tachlis of Tachlis Gula. The essence of the essence. What is the essence of the Ger Tzedek? Uniting with him. Finding him. Uniting with him. And when you love him and are in union with him, so what? So what? The answer is, have you been there? If you're there, you won't be saying, so what? Everybody says, what's with this ger? So what? Okay, he's important. Okay, maybe it's even a mitzvah. So what? The answer is, if you were there, you would know. Well, what, does it make you happy? That would be the Hebrew word simcha. When you have a bar mitzvah, you're besimcha. When you get married, you have simcha. It's not simcha. I wouldn't say I have happiness from being around the ger. I don't think we sit around and go, ha ha ha, this is so much fun, ha ha ha. I don't remember much laughing and giggling going on in these classes. In fact, we can check the scroll bar, and I don't think we come across LOL very often. So simcha's out, and I don't think it's sason either. I don't think we're jumping around having soiree, having get-togethers and drunken parties. Yeah, it's great to be with the ger. So that's not it. So why do you want to be in love with the ger anyways? You're not in simcha. It's not sason. And in most gatherings, you have one of those two. I would like to introduce you to the newest term of the repertoire. And it came on behalf of a name read through Soul Mazel I did. It was a shkacha pratis, a name I never saw before, and I was compelled to look it up because the English said joy, another ridiculous word. What does it mean, joy? Nobody even says anymore, oh, joy. Nobody says that. If they do, it's a slang word. Hedva means this. It's spelled chet, daled, vav, hey. Hedva, the Zohar explains it, is the let's just call it, for lack of a better term, borrowed language, it's the joy that comes from union. I don't like playing with my 4-year-old son in terms of his toys. Frankly, they don't interest me, playing with Sesame Street. But there's a joy, a fun to play with my son. It's fun when they jump on you and want you to play with them. It is fun. It's a divine fun. It's not something I have the boys over and say, hey, we're going to play with Sesame Street today. Come on over. It's fun. It's divine fun. The fun that comes from union. Every holy, sacred union is fun. That's called Hedva. Loving the ger is fun. Realizing reality together is fun. Marriage, bonded with no schism or a sweetened schism is fun. Driving together, talking about life together, reminiscing together, that's fun. It's not simcha. It's not sason. It's fun. It's chedva. The essence of life is to find chedva. And I think that's what we're all looking for. A good time. And the world is trying to define for you a good time. Hey, come drink Budweiser. You'll have a really good time. A good time is Bereshis bara Elokim. Being created in the image of God to walk his earth together. Male and female, he created them Adam. And we are all Ben Adam. And God's saying, have fun. Through the union, you get mazal. You get the divine providence of God enclosed through the power of man. It's fun. It's fun to be connected to God. God shows you miracles. God shows you the truth. That's love. Love the ger. Why? Because it's fun. What does fun mean? Fun is a ridiculous word also. It's chedva, which means it's joy. It's love. It's interesting. It's called life. Shared together is called tzedakah. It's kindness. It's everything good in this world. It's a reason to live. A reason to sleep calmly at night and connect and be in unity above while you sleep. A reason to wake up with a smile and see what God has in store for your day today. And what does Mashiach say? If you would listen my voice today. But you have to know what fun is. And let's stop using the word fun. It's chedva. And that's what a Molech goes to get. Hey, Bob, did you see me and Jill, my new wife? We just got married. You actually like her? Ooh, that hurts. See, a Molech has no fun. It's all pleasure, 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 pleasure. Make me feel good. It's devoid of fun. Fun is the perception of the divine. How do you know when you witness God? When it's fun. If it's not really, really fun, just a good time, that's not the divine. It has to be chedva. A Molech knows not of chedva. Therefore, they attack chedva. And that's very good. It is wonderful that they attack chedva. You know why? Because you just hit him. And you know why you just hit him? Because you are in chedva. And when you are in chedva, you hit people, called a Molech. And their knee-jerk reaction is they hit you back where the hit came from. So don't think of it, oh man, I must be doing bad, I got hit. Think of it as a mitzvah, you pounded on a Molech's head. And all he did was a knee-jerk reaction. He's irrelevant. The Zohar says all chedva that comes from God, God kills a Molech. Yet all chedva that doesn't come from God, a Molech kills you and God watches. Now the interesting component is what happens when you're in chedva. And it comes from the tachlis of Gula. You've connected it basically to the Ger Tzedek. You are in chedva with him. You know what he's about, what he does. It's a divine character. I think they call that the image of God. in motion. Mazal. So when you have the chedva of Ger Tzedek, and then don't just live your life with a closed eye. Know what you're doing. You're doing it anyways. If you're in this room and you're listening and you're a Ger Tzedek, you're already doing it. You found your calling. Jew, Baal Tshuva, whatever you are, Ger. All you need to do is know what you're doing. You are spreading chedva everywhere. That's why we all fell to the pit of Tumah. We are a commodity or something to be shielded and guarded and put away. Once the chedva releases you, then know you're still emanating chedva. And when you put it within the vessels of the Ger Tzedek, as they say, the laws of Noah kill Amalek. Think of the punch you pack when you launch vessels of the Ger infused with the light of Chedva. They call it Hod V'Hadar, glory and majesty. King David, as the Mashiach, is told he will fight not with sword and shield, but with words of Torah called Hod V'Hadar. And that's Chedva. It's the weaponry of Shem, because you're operating by name. You're allowing God to know you by name, and what you're doing is you're firing a name at Amalek. You're saying, hey, what's your name? He says, Amalek. And you say, I thought so. And he's illuminated as such, and God says, there's my guy. And he just got hit. And soon he won't be firing back so soon. Then you'll have a bridge to go from both camps to embrace and love, eliminate the static, and appreciate the closeness and the unity of schism for the sake of the repair of schism. An embrace of love and kindness and vitality and tzedakah. And don't say tzedakah, monetary charity. Say it's the feminine righteousness, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, righteousness, righteousness you shall pursue to make complete Ger Tzedek. To redeem the Malki Tzedek, Shem. Making him revealed, and in the last level, the Ger is known, and the Torah, when you close the book, will have been about the Ger Tzedek. And you come out feeling a little more pure than you did yesterday. I guess the Paraduma program was achieved. Where are we on time? I forgot to look at the time going into the class. Can somebody tell me how many minutes we have gone until now? We've gone 40 minutes. Okay, so I have until 12:15. Shabbos. Shabbos is the time of that union. It's the time of Chedva. Forget the good food. Forget the good clothes. Forget everything I'm going to tell you from this point on. The point of the class was, what is Shabbos and how can I enjoy it? Enjoy. In fact, that's what Chaim wanted to go over. Was oneg in kavod. What is the glory of Shabbat? What is the delight of Shabbos? And I'm saying, let's go ahead and knock it out in one punch. How do you combine the glory and the delight of Shabbos, which is a duality, which is therefore impossible to entertain with full clarity at the same time? Can't be in two places at once. So let's bring it into one vessel called Shabbos de Chedva, the Chedva of Shabbat. And we know that before we get into the Kishkes, the precedent of Shabbos is the Gemara in the tractate Krisis, which says like this: the Ger Toshav keeps Shabbat. He may keep it mundane. He may break it mildly, or he can break it barely at all. The breach in Shabbat is for the nurturing of the soul. It's about honesty. God, I'm holding at 7 laws. I'm keeping, let's say, 5 other ones I really hold by. And Shabbos is hard. And I'm not in the community. Yada, 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 yada. He says, look, I got to turn lights on and off. It's just the way it is. I got to work on Sunday. The lights are going on. God says, Beseder Gamor, Ger Toshav can break Shabbos for Ochel Nefesh. If it's for the satisfaction of the soul, turn the light on. Have no worries. You fear God. You are part of the program. You are resting. You are in Hedva to Shabbos. As you grow up or down, you have levels of Shabbos observance as to the degree of the breach of Shabbat. Then they'll say, well, wait a minute. You are stealing the covenant of Israel. No, you're not. Because the word to rest is yaniach, which, mind you, comes from Noah. So you're going to take Shabbos from Noah, but leave Noah out. Okay, I hear that. Makes no sense whatsoever. The Jewish command is to stop. Literally, stop. That's how a Jew rests. Now, is that to say, I stop and rest? What do? It's 2 different kinds of rest. It's 2 different kinds of lifestyles. Is a man better than a woman and a woman better than a man? No. The rest of the ger is to ease up. Don't be rambunctious. Rambunctious means check your email 5,000 times a day, which we all do in the smartphone era. Check it once. Check it no times. Don't be rambunctious. Be ragua. Isaiah uses the word ragua. Ease up. Noah's name actually means to ease. To ease the toil of our labor. Ease up. That is rest. And that's how you are doing the Bereshit version of Shabbat. And there's no association, no the Hebrew word is inyan, no direct affiliation of I am doing the covenant. The covenant is a different situation, it's a different everything. It's not even relevant to what goes in one's thought process. I am doing the covenant of God. Nobody does that. You do your job, you rest, or you stop, and you do what you do. If a covenant is involved, a covenant is involved. Last time I checked, Noah had a covenant. The Jew has a covenant. The Ger Toshav who gets circumcision has a covenant. There's a lot of covenants. Covenant is an os. It's a sign. That's it. We take words out of context and we put a meaning on it, and I am more blessed than you because I have this. No. Women are more blessed than men in certain respects, and men are more blessed in other respects. In the end, we all have our equality. The Sefer Kol HaTorah says, when does Mashiach come? When equality is on earth. The fact is, no 2 Gerim are alike. Everybody has gifts. Negativity is what we create ourselves. And ideally, our higher calling, our thinking big name contains everything. It's just a matter of how are you going to get there. Think big. Therefore, in practical terms, the Ger Shabbos, what really matters is how you go about your day. See, the Jews have lost touch of this. We run here, we run there, go there, run there, do that, do this, up, it's over, go home, okay, have a nice life. Did they rest? Technically, the soul rested, the body's worn out. What's acceptable in one camp may or may not be right. For the Ger, what really matters is Ragua and to make the day restful. Plan ahead. Do it right. Do it for what it is. Learn Torah on that day. Learn the prophets on that day. Make a stretch. I'm not doing anything. for 7 hours. Nothing except resting, being with God, communion with God. And the rest of the day, I'll try my best, do this or that. But do what it is. The covenant, let's say for the Jewish side, from the position of stopping, is to reach the place of where he's a ger. Now the ger knows he's a ger. The Jew reconnects on Shabbat, I am a ger. And you know what Torah learning comes from the Jewish camp? Is the Torah of the ger. It's called the 5 books of Moses, the characters of. That's what is revealed through the covenant. Know who came before you. That's where the knowledge of the ger comes from. The ger has a different mission. Rest. Learn the prophets. Learn what is the land of Israel. What is the Torah of the land of Israel. That doesn't come from stopping. Stopping just becomes, I'm a ger, I'm a ger, I'm a ger, I'm a ger. That's called bored. I am bored when I play with Reuven's toys. I need Hedva. As a Jew, my Hedva comes from stopping. It is fun to just sit down and stop. And all week long, I'm not stopping at all. It's a different infrastructure. For the ger, the Hedva is coming from ease up, chill out, sit back, get into it. Get into that para aduma mode. Get into the holy mode. It needs to be a bit dynamic. It needs to have a bit of food for the soul. A bit of pop. But it's not rambunctious. So there's a groove that we all get in, where we recalibrate on Shabbat. Recharge the body, the spirit, the mind. A woman would go to a spa and get her nails done. A man would go to a hardware store. I mean, look at that contrast. There's nothing more I like than shopping in a hardware store, which the very nature of it is like noise, energy, action. The woman says, just get me out of society in a bubble bath, jet stream, eyes closed, zucchini on my eyelids. The male-female depiction works very good with the Jew and the ger. The Shabbat is in place of the offering. Since there's no temple, you cannot bring your offering. The offering is a conversion. Now, do you get in the mikvah? Are you going to convert all the way to be called ger gamor? Are you going to convert a little bit? Some? You are the master of your conversion. The Torah is the book of the ger tzedek. And you see every level is mentioned. It is a conversion. You are making a change that you cannot go back on. And that's your choice. You're saying, man, where I came from, I don't ever want to go back there again. I'm making changes. Done. Convert, meaning you do a certain amount of effort. Let's say the giving of the olah, the bird offering, while there's no temple. You're now connected to the temple because you owe God that offering. Free will offering. It's not no one put it on your head. You free will offered. And it's the greatest joy, chedva, that comes out of it. You are connected now to the greatest good, the greatest big good, the third temple. And now it's temple or bust. You're in. And the way that you walk the path to the temple is through Shabbat. The Talmud says you take on Shabbat while there's no temple, but you're tethering it in. In whatever extent you celebrate Shabbat is your conversion. If you want everything on Shabbat, that's called ger tzedek, that becomes Jewish. You want to hold back here or there. That's the nature of the conversion from the mundane to the pure into the realms of holy. The Jew, likewise, who's been given holiness by God, decides how much in the world of purity do I want to go? How serious do I love the ger? How close do you want to be to where he came from? Which really is a way of saying, how much do you love another human being? Both sides are ultimately challenged. One is feminine, one is masculine. And the pull, the desire, and the chedva is for that temple. Because once that condition is made, it's temple or bust. This is where you get the Kohen Gadol from, the high priesthood. This is where the light of redemption shines into our world from. The more that we serve that temple and realize that it's the Messianic temple and there is a Mashiach, the more the Torah becomes real, the more you become that Ger Tzedek. The more you go on the other side of Moses. What's over there? It's called redemption. The other side of Moses. And now we have 8 minutes. This is just a practical thing. How does the Ger keep Shabbat? What do we do? Where's the chedva? You have to have kavod Shabbos, the honor of Shabbos. Don't just don't drink Coke. In terms of every day we drink Coke, and today is just another day of Coke. Just another day. I'm not saying don't have Coke, but make something special. Make it a different day. It is a different day. You're not working today. You're learning the prophets today. You're talking to God today. Maybe you talk to God every day. Fine. But today you're specifically talking to God. So maybe if every day you have Coke, and today you want Coke, today I'm definitely buying Coke. Give it some honor. Give it the grandeur. And then simultaneously, it needs to have some oneg, some delight. So certainly, and this I mean absolutely, do not use flat Coke. Don't say, well, the bubbles are almost, no. Go out and buy a new bottle of Coke. Now the Talmud explains, if there's a price issue, I think in today's world we can all somehow get our hands on a bottle of Coke. Let's say if it's water, make the water cold. It shouldn't be at the expense of false humility. Who am I to have good bubbly Coke? God says you are to have good bubbly Coke. You're to have good cold water. Whatever you do on a very simple level, because Shabbos pleasure is simple. It's not to say I'm buying $1 million bottle of water. No, because all Shabbos you're not going to do anything but say, why did I buy $1 million bottle of water? Then you defeated the purpose. And the unifying factors we're saying is chedva. Make it fun. If you find a good picture at the store, it's got squiggles, and you do a little thing with the picture, buy that. That's chedva. It's fun. They say, hey, where'd you get the picture? You say, I was at Target, and it was on sale, and I thought, that is my Shabbos picture. Chedva is the secret to your Shabbat. Everybody's Shabbat. What clothes are you going to wear? Wear clothes that are chedva. Get a nice shirt for Shabbos, but make it chedva. Now, does that mean I have to wear electric blue and squiggly pink lines? No. That's simcha. Chedva. Make it fun, but fun on the divine fun. On the Shabbos day, you go back to being made in the image of God. You're standing before the throne of glory. You're talking to God, working with God. And you say, what's the way to be God? How do I observe this Shabbos day? The answer is chedva. There's no negative energy that day. God is united on that day, which is what's going on whether you like it or not. It is a united day. There is no evil on that day. It is a day of chedva. Therefore, connect to it. Connect to the chedva. If you're going to buy wine, is wine chedva to you? Or are you choking and gasping, man, I hate wine? If you like wine, buy wine. Now, the benefit to this is the Jewish people are given 39 prohibited labors. And the divinity here those labors contain the matter that contains chedva. Because you cannot separate, let's say, flesh from bones, you have to eat fish in the Jewish camp. Gefilte fish, Joe. That's where gefilte fish comes from. So now you say, okay, so because of the Torah laws, fish becomes a Shabbos food for the Jews. So the Jewish people are given the tradition, let's say the menu. It's not because the Jews invented it. The divine law caused it to happen. Just like a name causes, Shemagarim, well, the 39 labors cause. Shabbos tradition ultimately comes from those labors. If you look at a Jewish lifestyle and you say, what's this guy doing? He may or may not be a great performer of his law, but what he really is doing, he's wearing the best suit he has. Now, it might be a really bad suit, but because the nature of the laws, he's obligated to do something along those lines. And his job is to perfect it. Now, when you observe, you should observe and say, what is chedva to me? Okay, there's an idea of garment. This particular, a good garment, washed and maybe new, just washed and comfortable and nice. So what's the guideline? How do I do it? What's the halacha? Without getting into the halacha. Because the idea here, and where everyone will yell at the ger, you cannot keep Shabbos, because if you make your own halacha, you're making your own religion, and then, no. So how do you stay away from halacha? Guard the day. Find your rest. Do all the prerequisites. Ochel nefesh, everything. In one word, get rid of a negativity. Don't attract negativity. Have the divine revelation, which brings divine fun, for lack of a better term. To be able to play in Torah, meaning what is playing in Torah? Let your mind wander. Let your mind go in thought. Ponder, meditate, connect, be connected. It's about find chedva. Which book of the prophets do I really sit back and say, man, that was great? What bottle of wine comes to the table where I say, that was a lot of fun. I like the taste of that. I never thought of that. Which cups go? And you'll find your entire existence on Shabbos can be one great chedva. Now, when the ger is in chedva on Shabbos, he's bringing chedva into the week. When the Jew finds chedva in the week with the ger, he brings chedva into his Shabbos. If you want to know the secret, how to love the ger, how to embrace tzedakah, how to give vitality, how to get rid of a mulek, how to embrace Mashiach, how to quit, hasten the redemption, how to walk into the temple, how to connect with God, how to connect with the essence of redemption, I leave you with one word. Know what is chedva. Thank you very much. Have a great week. See everybody in class on Shabbos. And questions, comments, or feedback, be glad to answer. Rabbi Katz at virtualyeshiva.com. Thank you very much, and see you guys next time.